Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, today I'm here with all my Colourpop palettes, and I have been thinking about these for a while now, that I want to kind of go through them and declutter a few shades. There's not really any palettes that I want to declutter completely because these shades are magnetic, so I kind of want to just combine certain palettes and maybe even depot some and declutter other shades. So I just feel like I have too many eyeshadow palettes from Colourpop and a lot of them are redundant, the shades at least. So I want to go through here and kind of decide what to keep. I don't know how cutthroat this is going to be. I know there's a few certain things that I want to kind of declutter or combine. So for example, the sheep palette right here, I did this with already. So I combined this with the Elemental Surprise palette and I made kind of like a customized palette, and I want to do that again with other palettes as well because I've been loving the new palette and it feels like I have a completely new color story. So I'm just gonna start by going through the palettes that I know I won't really change, and then we go from there. Because there are a few here that I like the way they are and I don't want to change them, so I will go through them first. So obviously the first one will be this one. I won't change this at all. I already gone through it and kind of put down all my favorite shades from those two palettes, so this one will be staying as it is. Another palette that will be staying is this one, which is the Through My Eyes palette. I have a lot of pans in this palette and it's one of my absolute favorite. I think it is my absolute favorite actually from Colourpop, so this will be staying the way it is as well. I don't want to change this at all. The Immune to Be palette is another one I want to keep the way it is. If you're wondering where the shades that I'm missing in here are, it's because they are in my panels eyeshadows currently and I have them in a little mini C palette just to make it easy to work on those. So that's why these are missing. There will be a few other shades here as well you will be seeing missing, and they are all in my panels eyeshadows, so that's why. But yeah, this will be staying the way it is. I absolutely love this palette and it's, I believe, in my top 3 Colourpop palette as well. So yeah, I'm not going to change this one. The next one is the It's My Pleasure. I don't like this as much, but I don't want to change it at the moment either. I feel like it's a nice purple palette, and in a dream world I want to kind of have a 12 pan palette with Lilac You A Lot and It's My Pleasure together, but I do not want to depot them, so I'm just going to keep it like I said as it is currently and perhaps do something to this in the future, but not right now. So this palette right here is actually a magnetic palette with loads of pressed glitters in it. If I can get it open. There you go. So this is what this one looks like, and the reason why I'm just putting this here is because I want to put all my pressed glitters in one place, and so I'm actually thinking about incorporating these into my tea palettes, and I'm putting all my mini Colourpop shades in here, like the small pans that I did pot, but I'm not going to go through that either in this video. That will perhaps be in a future organizing my single shadows video, but I just wanted to show you that I have these as well. I don't really count them as my eyeshadows because I don't use them on my eyes all the time, and I use them on my nails quite a bit and then for special occasions. But yeah, this one is another palette that I have, but I don't want to change that in this video. So these two palettes are another two kind of monochromatic palettes, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I do love the Just My Luck palette exactly the way it is, so I honestly don't think I want to change this one because I do like it. So this one will go into my not changing pile. But then with it meant to be, I'm so torn what to do because it's not my favorite palette. I don't know, it just doesn't really go with my skin tone, but I'm not sure if I want to kind of declutter this one yet because I don't have these tones anywhere else in my collection. So I feel like for now, since I don't want to really, or don't really have shades that can go in here in place of these shades that are currently in there, I might just keep this the way it is for now, but it might be something that I kind of depot the shades that I like most in the future and put that in a C palette, but for now I'm going to keep it the way it is. So I have these now left, and I know there's a few more that I don't want to change, like the Going Coconut palette. I do not want to change. This is the perfect kind of neutral palette and I haven't played around with this too much, so yes, this one will be staying the way it is, at least for now. These two palettes I am going to change a little bit, but the only thing I'm going to do is I think I'm going to remove all of my pressed glitters and put into one palette. They're going to be with the other pressed glitters that I showed you before, and that means that these will go out and I'll replace them with other kind of shades that I think will go in this palette from other palettes that I might want to declutter or just kind of, yeah, just put into other palettes. So this one will stay here for now, and similarly with the Honey palette, I have a pressed glitter in here. This one is in my panels eyeshadows, or actually it's one of my panels eyeshadows, it's in my Red Pan collab, so that's why this one is missing. But Palooza is another pressed glitter that I will remove and put something else in its place. I just haven't decided what yet, so these two will stay here for now. With the Yes Please palette, it's another one that I'm quite torn about. I have been thinking about kind of decluttering this or depotting it for a long time now, but I don't think I'm ready to do so yet. I think this will stay the way it is. I was thinking about maybe removing a few shades and putting in other shades in its place, but for now I think I might actually keep it the way it is, and then not really do anything with it. So this one as well will go in the not doing anything with at the moment pile. These are the palettes that I still have here, and I think these are all palettes that I want to change, either just removing one shade or removing like most of the shades. But yeah, these are the palettes that I want to work on right now. So I'm just going to open all of these up and kind of see what we have to work with. So as you can see, these are all the palettes that I have currently. We have one shade missing here, we have one shade missing here. Both are in my Pandos eyeshadows, as well as, like I said, this one which is in my Roulette Pan collab. So the initial thought that I have do was combine these two palettes into one, because I don't love either of those two by themselves, and I feel like there are a lot of repeat shades in those two palettes. So I want to go through those and make them into one, but I will wait with that, because what I think I want to do first is kind of go through the palettes where I just want to change one or two shades, and that is this palette, and this palette, because like I said, I just have a few shades that I want to pop out, and I'm going to start with kind of popping them out and seeing what will go with the color story. So there we have the palettes, and I'm hoping you can see these four down here, at least the frivolous shade I can see, you see. But we have this one which comes from the Dream Sweet palette, and this is in the shade Sweet Dreams. If you remember when I had this in my Pandos eyeshadows, I did really not like this shade. It's just kind of really crumbly and it blends away to nothing. So especially since there are two other shades that are quite similar in that palette, I have decided to declutter this, although I have a pan on it. It does hurt me a little bit because getting rid of a pan obviously lowers my pan percentage, but I just really don't like this shade, so this will be decluttered, and that is the first shade that's going. With the three glitter shades right here, I'm going to put into my Magnetic Sea palette, where I have some of the other Colourpop shades that I have depotted before. And like I said, later I think I'm going to put all of my pressed glitters into one palette, so they're all together, but for now they will go into here. So when it comes out to kind of what I want to put into these palettes, I'm going to start with this one because I only have to put one shade in here. And I think kind of what it goes between for me is either this gold or one of these two orangey shades. So I'm going to start by swatching all of those out and kind of seeing which ones I feel like will go best in this palette. So here you have those three shades. We have the gold from the Think I Love You palette, the kind of more bright purple from the Soul palette, and then the slightly more yellow orange from the Mark palette. And out of these two, I think these two are good contestants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch the two shades that are already in, like the gold shades that are already in the Honey palette, just to see if they are similar to this one. So there's two golds that I'm going to kind of use as contenders. This will actually be one shade that I decided to put in the Honey palette rather than this one. The only thing is I might want to put this gold into the Sweet Talk palette, used to kind of mix it up a bit and have some more shimmers that aren't too similar, because currently there are these two shimmers in that palette, and I feel like putting the orange in would be too similar to what's already in there. So I might actually decide to put the gold in there, and then that means that this orange shade will go in the Honey palette, and I think that would be nice to switch up the kind of shimmers a bit, because currently all of them are very yellowy gold. And also, like I said, there is a third shade in the Honey palette that is kind of golden shade that is in my Red Pan collab now. It is a gold with a blue shift to it, but I think that might be a bit similar to this in certain ways. It's a bit of a lighter gold, so I'm actually going to put this orange shade right here into the Honey palette. So there you have the final Honey palette. Like I said, Sunburst is missing, but I will put that in once I pan on it in my other project. And update you on that so that you can see what it looks like. But yeah, that is the final product, and I actually really like this orange tone in there. I think it will go really well with the tones that are already in this palette, and I'm really happy about that change. This will be the first finished palette. So I just put more back right there. Now we have a missing spot in that palette. But the next one I'm going to work on is this palette right here. This is the Sweet Talk palette, and like I said, I want to put this gold in one of these spots just to give kind of a golden shimmer in this palette, because now both of them are peachy. This one is more of an orangey peach, and this one is more of a kind of true peach. So I'm going to depot this one and put into one of these two spots. So there we have the first shade in the Sweet Talk palette, and now I just need to decide what color to put here. And for me, I feel like I want to kind of put another color. Judging from these palettes, I think I'm actually going to still keep this one majority the same, which means this one will be split up a bit. I was thinking about combining this with the Give It To Me Straight palette, but I'm still not sure what I will do. I might want to depot some of these shades and yeah, combine those two, but I don't want to touch any of these shades right now and put in here. So what I will do is I will not consider this one, and I want to kind of get another shade to put in here, but it will come from one of these 4 palettes right here. I definitely feel like I want to put a shimmer in here, because currently there are now 3 shimmers plus this Super Shock shadow, which is not my absolute favorite, and I feel like the mattes in here give enough variety that I don't want to put anything else in here. So it just kind of comes down to the shimmer that I want to put in. I think I actually want to kind of put in a lighter shimmer, so what I'm going to swatch is these two, this one, as well as this one. I feel like this one might stay in the combination of these 2 palettes, but it might be one of these 3. So I'm going to swatch them out and see which one I think goes best with this palette. So there you have those 3 shades, and off the bat I don't think this kind of cool toned one will go with this color story because it's too silvery, but I also want to take that Super Shock shadow you swatched next to them to see kind of what tones I already have in it. And I feel like, honestly, this one is probably the most similar, so that might actually be the one that goes best with it. I'm going to put the gold in that I used to add as well. And I think maybe these 2 are too similar. So I think the one I want to go with... So there we have this palette done. I really love how this looks now. It looks quite similar, and I feel like it goes with the same color story, but I just have more variety when it comes to the shimmers, because the only downside I said when I reviewed this palette in my 1 week 1 palette was that I feel like those 2 shimmers were quite similar. You got a lot of similar looks, and also that the only kind of lighter shimmer that you had was the side to side shade, which is more of a Super Shock and it's more have a sheer base. So I wanted to put in something else that is a light shimmer, so I decided to put in this one right here. So that is the next palette done, and I really love how this came out. So we are down to these palettes right here, and I want to start with this one, which is the Dream Street palette, and I want to add 1 shade in here because, like I said, Magical is in my favorite pans, so I don't have that in here, but it's just like a peachy light transition shade, actually quite similar to this one right here. But I want to add in another shimmer or like another shade, but I believe it's going to be a shimmer because we only have these 2 and then this one and obviously this one. But this one is more of a kind of out corner shade for me anyway. I do love this one, and then we have these 2 kind of rose golds, and the rose golds are nice, but I just feel like they are very similar. So I kind of want to decide what shade to put in here that will give a bit more variety. Straight off the bat, I don't think any of the shades from the Give It To Me Straight palette will go in here because they are all quite kind of mauve toned, and this is a bit more of a warmer toned palette with the pops of blue. So I don't think I will take any of these shades, so this one will kind of go to the side for now. A contestant is this palette right here, because I think maybe like a bronzy shade will go nicely in here. All of the 2 kind of light shimmers are very similar, and then these 2 shades are quite similar to some of the bronzes in here. And I think the only kind of shade that I would potentially put in is this bronzy shade right here or this one right here, but actually looking at it now they look quite similar to what I already have in this palette, so maybe I'll put this one to the side as well. And then obviously we have these 2 palettes, which are 2 that I want to combine. So I'm most likely to kind of take some of these shades, or at least one of these shades. So again, off the bat, these 2 they're not the same, but they're quite similar. I don't think the green one or the dark kind of matte blue one will go either, so those 3 are out of the picture for me. I don't want to take this one either because it's too similar to the Magical shade, which is obviously missing now, like I said. And so is the Dynamite. Same with the kind of deep browns, they are also in this palette, and this one as well. So all of the kind of transition shades are already in this palette, and like I said, I do kind of want to add another shimmer. So the only shimmer that I kind of can think of would suit, I wouldn't particularly take one of these 2, especially not this one because it looks very close to Twinkle. I'm kind of going to swatch this one, which is B and B, next to these 2 right here to see if they're too similar. And looking at it there, they definitely are, so I won't be taking this shade as well. I think potentially what I want to add is one of these kind of bronzy shimmers, because I was thinking about this red one because we have this red, but I don't think I will use that too much. So I'm actually going to swatch these two out and decide which one of these two I want to add into this palette. So there we have those two swatched out, and to be honest, they are quite similar. This one is a bit kind of richer and this one is slightly lighter. So it is quite difficult again which one to decide on, but I'm going to swatch the shimmer shades that are in here just to see kind of what they look like. As well as this kind of reddish shade. I want to just look what this one looks like next to them. It is really difficult, but I feel like actually this one is more similar to these two than this one is. So I'm going to take this shade, which, if I can remember correctly, I think is Hotel from the Soul palette. Actually, my bad, it is a Wild One from the Mar palette. I mixed them up when I swatched them. So this is the one I'm going to put into place of Sweet Dreams. So that means that we have another palette done. Of course this one's missing, but like I mentioned a few times, it is in my C palette at the moment. So it's another palette that I feel like I improved a little bit, and I think I'm much happier with what it looks like right now. So we're down to the most difficult part of this whole process, and that is to kind of narrow down and combine the palettes and declutter some eyeshadows. Because so far I haven't decluttered anything apart from the shade from this Dream Street palette in Sweet Dreams. But the whole goal of this kind of declutter was to get rid of redundant shades and things that I don't want. And since I will have to get rid of less shades in these two, I will start with these two kind of palettes and declutter some of the shades and combine them into one. So here are all the shades that we have. I'm gonna go through these and kind of decide what I want to keep in and what I want to declutter, and what I kind of want to put into my Magnetic Sea palette. So the first thing that I want to go through is these kind of blue and green shades, because I do not think those will stay in the palette. I do like them, but they're not the best, and also since it's only a £9 palette, I want to have something more focused on this. Maybe not as monochromatic, but still kind of nice. So I'm gonna swatch those and see if there's anything I want to keep, and then go from there. So there we have those three shades swatched out, and off the bat this green shade is not that nice, so I'm going to be decluttering this. But these two are a bit nicer, and I don't have too many blue shades in my collection. I do have one matte blue in my current C palette, so I'm going to swatch that next to it to see if it's similar, and if not, I'm going to keep that blue shade as well. So there you have the other shade swatched out, and as you can see, it's much lighter, so I will be keeping this one as well. So these two will go into my C palette, and this green will be decluttered. So here you can see that are those two blue shades that I want to keep, and I also put in the kind of particular shades in here as well. So that's what my current C palette is looking like. The other ones are from the Elemental Surprise and the She palette that I did potted previously, but those are the first shades. And then this green, which is HWY, will be decluttered as well. So now we're down to not too many shades. I did put in a lot from the Mar palette and not anything at all from the Soul palette. So what I'm going to do next is I'm thinking I'm going to actually keep this palette as the palette I want to keep, and then I want to move some of the shades from here into here and maybe declutter some of the ones that are in here. I'm going to start by swatching out all of the matte shades that I have left and kind of see which ones are my favorite and which ones are not. So here you have all of the matte shades, and these on the top here are from the Soul palette, and these are the two from the Mar palette. And off the bat, I know I want to keep this light one, this kind of reddish one, because it's very, very unique in my collection, and then probably these two. This one here, I feel like I can get mixing these two. This one I want to kind of get rid of because it's actually, it is more of a peachy tone, but this is more of a neutral tone, and I feel like having this, I can kind of, or even having this, I can kind of transform this shade into more of a peachy tone, and I feel like having that neutral tone in it would be nice. So these two will go, these two, and these two will stay. So we'll have 4 mattes in the new palette. So I will start potting these, and from those ones that I kind of went through, I don't think I want to keep either of these two. Potentially this one, but I think overall I don't want to keep either of these two because I have those tones over and over in my collection. Yeah, for now I put this Dynamite shade in the Maybe pile, but on one will go. So there we have those shades. I think for now I'm actually going to move these two over to this palette just to kind of see what we're looking like, and then we're going to swatch out all the shimmers. So this is what the More palette currently looks like. Like I said, that will be the one I'm keeping. And now, like I said, what I will do is I'm just going to swatch out all of the shimmer shades that we have left to decide which ones I want to keep and which ones will go in my either Declutter pile or my C palette. So here we have the swatches of the shimmers. These two here are the ones that are currently in the More palette, and then the rest of them are the ones from the Soul palette. So off the bat, these two are very, very similar, and I only want to keep one of them. The question is which one. So this one here is this one, and this one right here is this one. I'm just going to kind of feel them again just to see how they feel creaminess wise. Don't mind my dirty fingers, I've been swatching a lot, but these two are the two shades, and honestly I feel like I want to keep the golden one more because I think it's going to create more variety in the palettes, because there are a few more kind of bronzy rose gold shades in the palettes that are left. So this one will actually stay in the current palette, and this one right here will go in my kind of declutter pile, because I don't think I want to keep that shade, because again I have that shade over and over in my collection. So we are down to 5 shimmer shades left, and there's only 4 spots. And let's look at these 2 bronzes, because I feel like those 2 are the next ones that are similar. Actually this one as well. So these 3 here are quite similar. To be honest, I think I'm actually going to keep this dark bronze in the palette, because I think it's more like, again, a neutral tone. And one of the problems I had with the Soul palette was that it was too kind of warm toned to orange tone, and I do want to transfer some of those tones over like I did with this one, but I feel like if you have too many of them it creates a lot of looks that look the same. So this one, which is my way, will actually stay in the palette, which means that the Hotel right here, which is the other bronzy shade, which is more orange, will go into my decluttered pile. So that's good. So we have this one here that cluttered, but that means that this orange shade is something that I actually really want to keep over, which is the shade Floaties right here. I think it's a nice, really nice, unique shade in my collection. Similar with Motel, I feel like this is also a really similar shade. And actually looking at it, I do have 3 spots left in here, and I think I decided to keep all of them, which means that these 3 are all shades that are eligible to stay in this palette. So I'm going to transfer all of these shades over and look how the palette looks at that time. So as you can see, this is what the palettes look like currently. We have an empty palette right here, which I haven't decided what to do with. I might put the declutters in here. I also have the old Element of Surprise half empty with declutter, so I might put them in there as well. But yeah, this one is empty for now, so I'm going to put this to the side. And here we have my new combined palette. Again, I'm really excited with how this looks. I did a similar thing again with the kind of colorful thing going diagonally. Before it was blue-green, but now it's kind of really orange. And I'm really happy with what this looks like now, so I'm going to put this in my finished pile. So now we have these 2 palettes to tackle, to kind of decide what to keep and what to declutter. And again, I think I'm going to do what I did last time and keep kind of one palette and declutter the rest, or put some in my C palette, because I feel like, again, I have too many Colourpop palettes and it's very overwhelming. So I want to condense these down to 2 palettes, and I think it's going to be a bit harder because I only have 3 shades missing, but I need to keep the rest, like 12 shades, into those 3 spots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a similar thing again, kind of swatch out similar shades and see what I want to keep. So I'm going to start with the lightest shades, which are these 2, and see which one I like better. So there we have those 2 shades, and to be honest, I like this one, which is matter of fact better than this one. This one has a slight bit of sheen to it, and it's not as pigmented, and I feel like this would be a nice kind of blending out shade, because I don't really use shades to set down my eyelid anymore. So this one will stay, this one will be decluttered. So here we have all the mattes sorted out apart from the black. The black for me is a maybe. I'm not sure I want to keep that in or not. So yes, I'm just going to start with that. But in here there are some repetitive shades. So I'm going to start with ones I definitely want to keep. I love these 3 together, which are these 3 here from the Give Me To Me Straight palette. I also love this orange, and the only things I feel like are these 4 right here. I'm not sure which ones of those I want to keep. This is when it gets really difficult, because I know I will have to do a lot of kind of decluttering. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is declutter this shade right here, which is this one from the I Think I Love You palette. It's just not my favorite. It didn't swatch the greatest, so yes, this one will be the first to go. And again, I have a lot of matte browns in my collection, so I'm not going to keep that. When it comes to this one, I do like it, and it's more of a kind of neutral brown. So for now I want to keep this as well in the Maybe Pal. And then with these here, I think it's really difficult again. This one is also kind of in my Maybe Pal, because I do like this one. It's very different from the others. So this one will be staying as well. And I think I'm going to stop with the mats there, because I really don't know which ones I want to keep yet and which ones I don't. Because like I said, there's a lot of tones here that I do really like, but I feel like all three of these are a bit excessive. But we're going to get to that a bit later. So yes, I'm going to stay there for now and just move into the shimmers to see how many shimmers I want to keep. So moving on to the shimmers, I also just remember that this spot right here is actually one of my panel eyeshadows currently, so that still needs to be empty, or at least kind of keep in consideration when I put together all the shades. But I'm gonna swatch out all the shimmers again just to see what we have to work with and what I want to keep and what I want to declutter. So here we have all the swatches, and straight off the bat I have a few things that I know I want to declutter. This one right here, which is Forthright, does not swatch that well, so I know I want to declutter this one, and so that one will go. Another one I will declutter is this one right here, which I don't know the name of, but it's this dark brown here. I don't use those shades very often, and I much rather use something like this one, which is a bit more kind of brighter and has a sheen to it than this one when it comes to those shades. So I will take these two out to start with and then move from there. To make this process easier as well, I kind of decided to go and swatch this one, which is the one I'm currently working on from the I Think I Love You palette, and I do like this shade a lot. However, swatching this one next to some of the other shades, I mean, this one is already cluttered. And I also feel like this one and this one is quite similar, so what I've decided to do is declutter this one because it is kind of a mix between these two in my opinion. They're not exact dupes. I mean, when I say this, I mean they can kind of be worked in a similar way, and obviously I'm kind of trying to declutter some of the shades. So yeah, I'm gonna declutter this one and keep this one obviously because I'm working on it, and this one as well I think because I like this shade here. So now we're gone to kind of the more difficult part again. I do really like this silver shade. I think it's a really nice kind of interesting shade, but I do also like this one. I feel like these two give some variety to the palettes. So I'm gonna keep those two for now. I'm gonna count up how many shades I have in total and see how many I have left to declutter. So with the shade that is currently in my Pan of Eyeshadows, I have 17 shades, which means I have to get rid of another 5. So this is where it gets really difficult. I'm gonna swatch out all of the shimmer shades that I have left now, just to kind of decide what I want to keep, because I feel like I'm gonna start decluttering those first. So here we have the shades that are left, and the first one I'm gonna get rid of is this one because I feel like it's quite similar to this shade, just a slightly bit darker, and again, I don't use those dark shimmers a lot. This is kind of the darkest type of shimmer that I like using, and this one is slightly darker than that, so this one will go as well. And that is this shade here from the I Think I Love You palette. So here we have the remaining shades, and again, it's so difficult because I feel like all of these are different and they all kind of contribute to the palette. I feel like the shade that I'm probably going to declutter is this shade right here. I do like it, and I feel like it is different than the other ones, but I just need to get rid of another shimmer because I can't have 7 shimmers and 5 mattes. Actually I could, but I feel like it's better just having 6. Well, actually, yeah, I think this one will stay in my Maybe Pal to declutter, but for now, I think, yeah, what I will do first is I'm gonna search out the mattes and see if there's any of them I want to declutter before kind of deciding on the rest. So here we have all the mattes swatched out, and I had a little think of what I feel like I want to do with these, and I have decided that I want to actually take this black out because I don't really use black in palettes that often, and I do have like this dark brown, which I'm definitely going to keep, which is this one right here. I do really love that one. And I think I'm just going to put this in my C palette because I don't have a black in my C palette, and I think it will just be easier to kind of have it in there in case I ever need a black. So this one will go out and go in my C palette. So it is now in my C palette right there. Yeah, it's just nice black, so that will stay. And then we're down to kind of the rest. So this one has gone, and I think another shade that I kind of want to use, it's so hard. I feel like this one right here, and I think it's this one. No, it's this one. These two, oh, they're so different though. It is so difficult for me to decide on these. I feel like though that this one I can kind of reach with this color and this color mixed, or these two mixed. I feel like this is a bit redundant, but at the same time, it's just such a nice transition shade. This is getting really difficult now, because I do like most of the shades that I still have here. These light transition shades are something that I use more than those darker ones, so I actually think that this one will go, which is Frank. I do really like the tone of it though, and I might actually put this in my C palette as well, because I do like the look of that shade. It will go in my maybe palette, I think. Now we are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mattes. And again, this is where it becomes difficult. I have actually decided, I think, that I want to get rid of this shade Matter of Fact. Again, I don't use these lighter shades that often, and yeah, since this is going to be a lot of lighter transition shades in here, I don't think I need this one. So this will be another one that I am going to take out. So again, I'm kind of debating whether this should go in my C palette again, because I do really like this shade. So I'm going to put this in my maybe palette as well. So we're down to 6 mattes, which I think is a good number. So I'm going to go through these shimmers again, because we are down to the last shimmers, and I just have to get rid of one of them to fit all of the shades into one palette. So here we have all of the shimmers that are left. There's 7 of them, and yes, this is, like I said, where it gets difficult. And I think this one here, which is Candid, I spoke about that before, and I think that one has to go, because it's probably the shade out of these that I will use the least. So I will actually take this one out and keep the rest. And that is not a shade that I probably want to keep in my C palette, because like I said, I have too many of those kind of rose gold shades. So these are the shades that I have left that I will want to keep. So I'm just going to rearrange, and I want to keep it in this palette, I think, because I do prefer that one to the I think a Lovely palette. I just like this packaging more. So I'm going to transfer all of these shades over into here and take it from there. So here we have the finished palette. I am missing one here, as you know, because that is the bronzy shade that's in my Pandos eyeshadows currently. I left a spot in here for it, but I really love how this came out. Again, I just love kind of mixing up my palettes, and I feel like it has way more variety now, because you can create those kind of mauve tone looks with this palette, but you can also do more of a kind of warmer eye as well. So I really like how this came out, and I am happy that I have a palette now that is more personalized for me. So this will be going in my palette drawer again. And then of course we have a completely empty palette right here, which I need to decide what to do with. And I actually ended up decluttering 12 shades up front right here. I don't have any names for them or anything. They are from all of the palettes. Again, I can't remember which one is which, but you can see kind of there's a lot of duplicate tones. This would actually make it quite a nice palette, but they are very relative shades in my collection. I mean, you can see here all of these shades are very similar or similar tones. So these will all be going, and I'm really excited that I decluttered quite a few shades. Then we are down to my maybe shades right here. These are, like, again, really difficult for me to decide what to do with. I feel like they are all kind of nice, unique shades in my collection. I mean, not perhaps unique, but I feel like they all make a... well, they all have a spot in my collection, if that makes sense. So I think what I will do is I will actually take all of these 3 and put in my C palette for now. It might change. I might declutter some of these in the future, but I want to play around with them a bit more, swatch some other shades and see what I have similar to them. But for now, I feel like these are all 3 shades that I will get use out of. So these will go into my C palette. It is basically full now. I have a spot here, which is another shade that is in my Pandos eyeshadows. But as you can see, it's quite full. So I just have to make some more room and kind of, I don't know, go through and maybe change some spots or change some colors around. But I will try to fit those in here as well. And yeah, that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. So just to show you all the palettes that I kind of personalized a little bit, I'm gonna start with this one, which I only changed 1 shade in. I really love how this came out, and I love how this creates more diversity in the palette. So that is the first one. The second one I didn't do too much with is this palette right here. I switched these 2 out. I feel like the overall color story is still very similar. So yes, this is another one that I'm really excited about, and I'm happy to work on this or just use this with the 2 new shades. Also, the Dream Street palette didn't do too much. I put this kind of coppery shade in here, which I think again will just give a bit more variety rather than having 3 rose gold shimmers, especially one that I didn't like. So that is the next palette. And then the last 2 palettes are 2 palettes that I did quite a lot of changes to. I combined 4 palettes into these 2, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. Honestly, I feel like the Give It To Me Straight palette is quite similar to what it originally was. But there are a few changes, and I feel like I took my favorite shades from each of those 2 palettes, which is this one, Give It To Me Straight, and the I Think I Love You palette, and I created this, which is a beautiful palette, and I feel like I'm going to be way more inclined to use this now because it has a bit more of those kind of lighter tones and some mid and dark tones as well, because before it was a lot of mid-range colors and not too many light colors. So I do really love this now, and I think I'm going to use this way more with the new personalized layout. And then this palette is probably the one that looks the most different. It is, like I said, a combination of the Mar palette and the Soul palette. I think this is probably close to what the Soul palette originally was, but it has some more kind of neutral tones to balance out those really warm orangey tones, and I really love how this came out. I don't think I will reach for this much this year because it's more of a summer palette, but that is the last palette I personalized, and I think this will be a perfect palette next summer. So that, you guys, was all for this video. It was a lot of things going on, and this is probably a very long video, so if you made it to the end, I am so happy that you stayed, and please let me know what you think of my new palettes down below. I'm very excited to start using them. So thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye guys.